Three, two, one. Hey there, Pacifica, California, Lindemar Beach, if I recall. It's Keith Hernandez here. I'm very sorry that I can't be with you for this really nice event regarding Little League Baseball in Pacifica growing up in the 60s, early 60s to mid 60s. It was a great experience for me. I have a lot of fond memories of Little League, and I think a lot of it has to do with the parents that were involved. I was the end of the baby boomers towards the end. I was born in 1953, and there were tons of kids that needed to have their sports. And not only Little League, parents were involved in flag football and getting basketball programs together. But Little League really was a labor of love for the parents around there. I remember we had the softball field and the Babe Ruth field and White field. Those were the the three fields in Pacifica, and the little pasture land out there with those three fields was owned by the monastery, the nunnery, above the hill looking down on the property. And I remember the parents going up there and talking to the nuns and asking them if they could build a second field, a Little League field, which became Grosso Park. And that was spearheaded by Carl Valero and Miss Gino Ottanello, my dad, John Hernandez, and others, Joe Ortega, all parents that wanted their kids, all coming home from World War II, had settled in Pacifica with the GI loan, and it was a rapidly growing area. I remember when we were little kids, there was no police force. There was just Pop the Cop, who was a Wyatt Earp type character, drove an old Ford or Chevy, and he had handlebar mustache and a cowboy hat, and he had, two 6-shooters, Colt 45s, like a cowboy, and he would bring us lollipops and such when he made his rounds. Then the city Lindemar Valley became too big, and they had to get a police force, of course, and let alone a fire department. And the parents got involved with their kids, and there was a lot of kids. I remember tons of kids, enough for our league to have, I think, around 6 teams. So think about that. And the parents were very involved. The mothers were involved as well as the fathers. They organized the games. We had great opening days where everybody lined up, the 6 teams in the outfield, and ran around the bases as they were announced individually. So in my case, it would have been Keith Hernandez from Lindemar Realty, or Pacifica Lumber, or Ed and Jim's 76 gas station, the 3 Little League teams I played for. And it was a great thrill. We were very fortunate to have minor league players who were parents, Carl Valero and my father in particular, that taught us how to play the game and made it fun. And my dad, being a fireman, was able to have, worked 24 hours off 48. And those 48 hours after school, if it was school time, it would be workouts after school. But most of the time, though, baseball's in the summer, but there was time when there was school. And then we were taught how to play the game fundamentally, and we won all the championships, and it was very competitive. There was a lot of great athletes in there. Bob McClure, of course, comes to mind. I played against Bob throughout Little League. I think he was with the Pacifica Angels, I'm not sure. And it was Mr. Thomas was the manager, if I recall. And later on in life, Bob and I would meet up in 1982 World Series for a very dramatic 7th game matchup that I got a critical base hit in the 7th inning, I believe, to tie the game. And we went on to win the 7th game of the World Series against the Milwaukee Brewers. And that was my first World Series in 1982. So I can recall knowing I was going to face Bob. I was in the on deck circle, and I'm sitting up at the plate, and I'm going, my gosh, can you believe my first World Series? It's enough pressure, enough anxiety, and enough fun. And now I've got to face a friend who I grew up with in Pacifica. It was really kind of a surreal moment in my life. I'm sure Bob's too. Ironically, Bob lives in Florida, not far from me, maybe 20 minutes from me, half hour. We stay in touch. He's doing very well, and so those are my fond memories. And it's basically where the parents. I mean, Grasso Park was a nice field. I remember my father going down when they planted the grass, and there was really no irrigation system in the beginning. And my dad went down there and watered the lawn on his off time to get the grass growing, and eventually got the city. The parents got the city to put I believe, put a sprinkler system in there. I can't imagine those parks not having a sprinkler system there to keep the grass growing. But anyway, that's the kind of dedication the parents had there. It was really a family and community endeavor to have the kids be able to play baseball, organized baseball, little league baseball. It was really quite fun. So Pacifica was at that time. I remember when they were building. We were one of the first neighborhoods in there, and Lindemar Boulevard ran all the way down to the end of the valley. And I remember there was just homes on Lindemar Valley. There was nothing expanding wide. It was just we'd ride our bikes all the way down to the end of Lindemar Valley. There was no Terra Nova high school back in that area there. It was all dirt roads and places, wonderful places for kids to have fun. And San Pedro Creek used to, in the spring rains, would overflow, and the steelhead would come and spawn, and we'd have floods. Artichoke fields in the beginning that eventually the farmers sold out, and homes were built on. But I was there when there were artichoke fields. I used to traipse through the artichoke fields to go to Lindemar School, grammar school, and there was always Sun Valley Dairy above the Lindemar School, where we would get ice cream bars and all that. And it was just a Huckleberry Finn environment there, surrounded by the mountains. The corner of our house was on 1307 Hermosa, right off of Lindemar Boulevard. We were a quarter of a mile from the beach, and we used to ride our bikes everywhere and have a great time. It was like Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. It was just a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up. So I hope that this is satisfactory here. I'm 8 minutes and 17 seconds. I don't want to bore you. But things were so much different back in 1960, 61, 62. There wasn't that overpopulation or population that it is now. It was a great expanse of area for kids just to have fun and all that stuff. And then, we played all three sports. And there was the basketball was the last sport really to get organized. And a lot of that had to do with Marty Coyle. And the parents going up to Terra Nova, I remember, and saying to my dad, saying to the basketball coaches, you got a bunch of kids down here that are young, that are going to be your future teens, and you need to organize. Some kind of program for basketball. So as they become teenage age in high school, you're going to have these kids playing on your basketball team. And you need to open up your gym. And, you need to open up your gym and get the kids to play, which they did. And so it's just really, parents are really thinking about their children and making a better life for us. And I'm forever grateful for that. And there was a lot of parents involved. So I have nothing but fond memories. My grandfather on my dad paternal side came over from Spain, and I often think about his decision. He didn't want to go to New York. He did not. He left around 1910. saw World War One coming, sold everything, and got on a boat with my grandmother and Isabel, my aunt, was an infant. And he didn't want to go to New York. He wanted to go to California. So they took the boat all the way around. There was no Suez Canal back then. Took the boat all the way around the Cape of Good Hope, Africa, crossed the Indian Ocean to the Philippines, which was a Spanish possession then, and then from there went to Hawaii, where he worked in the sugar fields for 7 years, and Maria was born, my aunt, my firstborn in America. And then after 7 years, took the boat with the four of them to San Francisco. And I always think of the fact that if he had gone to New York, my life would have been dramatically different. I couldn't imagine growing up in urban New York metropolitan area, and as opposed to growing up on the West Coast in Pacifica, an entirely agrarian environment, totally different. Like I said, Huckleberry Finn. My life would have been dramatically different, and I'm forever grateful to my grandfather, my grandparents, for making that decision, because I was truly blessed to be born in San Francisco and reborn and raised in Pacifica. So I'll leave you with that. And I hope you've enjoyed this little talk. This is the truth coming from the heart, and that's how I feel about Pacifica. Nothing but fond memories. Have a good day.